Getting ready to do a show, folks. Let's have some feed, Ken. We want to hear the news.
More than they've ever done in history.
The ministry was founded in 1942. It completed its first translation 9 years later. In the run-up to the midterm elections, a growing number of conservative groups are turning their attention to often ignored school board races. Their aim is to put conservatives in control of more school systems to scale back the promotion of transgenderism and the LGBT agenda. The efforts gained steam last year amid parents' frustrations with boys and girls locker rooms and on girls sports teams. This is SRN News.
How'd you like to eliminate your expensive cable bill forever or get new satellite internet where cable can't go? Well, now you can have affordable satellite internet service for a few dollars a day. All you need is a mini satellite installed, and you can have unlimited internet connections wirelessly in your home or office. And no cable boxes means unlimited connections and no clutter. You can surf the internet or stream any of your favorite television services with no cable. And the best part is, satellite internet service costs only a few dollars a day for your entire home. Yes, fast internet to surf or stream television for a few bucks a day. Call now for free details and learn how to drop your expensive cable bill.
800-696-6902. 800-696-6902. 800-696-6902. That's 800-696-6902.
The following program is sponsored by Bay Area Medical Can Care Clinic.
The latest from AccuWeather at the top and bottom of the hour. Only on AM 860, The Answer.
Today will be sunny and pleasant with a high 89. Tonight, clear skies and a low 71. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy with a thunderstorm in the afternoon. The high will be 83. Tuesday, a passing morning shower, otherwise clouds followed by brightening skies. The high will be 79. And on Wednesday, some clouds, then sunshine with a high 69. That's your AccuWeather forecast. I'm Garrett Beck for AM 860, The Answer.
Ever since I was a young boy, music filled my soul.
And I'm on. This is Dr. Bill. Got Ken by my side. We're doing a radio show this morning, folks, and we're also streaming on Facebook, YouTube, drbillradiomd.com. I don't know, a few other platforms. And I think Joe said we're pumping this out, at least the audio, onto Spotify. Do you know anything about that, Ken?
That one I wasn't aware of, no. But
he said
Joe said it, it's true.
Well, yeah, if he remembered to push the right button.
It happens.
Things happen, don't they? Buttons happen. So
it's my big fat fingers, you know.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
Well, we're working all right now.
Everything's working right now. We'll see how it goes throughout the show. Don't touch anything, Ken.
Yeah, a lot of opportunity to change that. That's right.
All right, so Ken asked me about the new XBB variant. Is that the one?
XBB, I read about it this morning. Apparently, it's spreading pretty quickly in Hong Kong.
I see that it's spreading in Singapore. I didn't see any reports on Hong Kong yet, but
okay.
the Minister of Health for Singapore, you know, Singapore is an independent city-state, whatever you want to call it, country, and they're actually one of the most affluent little countries in the world. I think they're right up there with Luxembourg and some of the other well-to-do little principalities, whatever you want to call them. At any rate, he said that although it is spreading fast, and they're thinking 15,000 cases a day, up to 20 or 25,000, that it should peak in November and drop. And he said actually the number of hospitalizations have not gone up, and he credits the high vaccination rate to that. Now, here's the thing about it, Ken. It's an Omicron variant, and what the health officials are saying is that if you get the new booster shot, that's the bivalent, it has both the Omicron and the regular COVID-19 juice in it, that you'll be better protected, and if you do get sick, you won't get as sick, and it'll cut down again on hospitalizations and death. I guess the main concern is the quote long COVID syndrome, which I guess it's real. I mean, any virus can cause a post-viral syndrome. We see that with Guillain-Barré and other diseases that come after viral infections. So I guess it can do that. I haven't seen that really, but again, I'm not the epicenter of COVID treatment in the world. So we have to trust, to a certain extent, our public health officials, although I think that they had made some mistakes during the pandemic, and some of them were intentional to try to get people to move in this direction or that. But regardless, I think we've done fairly well for a virus that spreads this fast, Ken. I'm surprised.
Well, we did very well when it comes to putting together a vaccine for it, or at least
there's
something to stop the death.
There's no doubt about it, and the mRNA vaccines that Pfizer and Moderna developed are truly miraculous. In technology, pharmacology, virology, genetics, just a miraculous feat that they accomplished with that. So at any rate, Singapore said it's likely to peak in November, and I don't think we've had any cases reported here yet. But
the only two I've heard is Singapore and Hong Kong. So,
well, Singapore is south and west of Hong Kong. It's the tip of the Malay Peninsula. So China sits on top of Southeast Asia. The Indian subcontinent came up and crashed into Asia, and that's what makes the Himalayan mountains. Now, I don't know if anybody was on the continent when it crashed in 50 or 100 million years ago.
Probably not, no.
I don't think so, but you never know. There might have been a couple of monkeys that were riding along.
Could have been a dinosaur here.
Yeah, there might have been. Were they still around 50 million years ago?
I think that's just about time they disappeared.
I think 65 million years ago they disappeared, didn't they?
Yeah, did they? Okay.
Something like, isn't that when the Tunguska, whatever they call it?
The comet or whatever it was.
Yeah, that big hunk of rock hit right in the Gulf of Mexico, too.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Not if you were there.
Not if you were there. I'd like to see it, but from a distance.
Yeah. Oh, way back, yeah.
Well, I guess we could get Mr. Peabody's Wayback Machine and go take a look. Is he still?
That was the genesis for the nuclear winter theory.
Oh, I know.
The strike.
Well,
by the comet.
I don't know how much a nuclear winter is a reality. I guess if you had enough nuclear explosions within a short period of time, you could kick up enough dust that it would.
It's the fires that take place afterwards.
Well, yeah,
that really would do it. Yeah.
Yeah, the fires and the smoke and the dust and all that, and that would create a cloud cover that would cool the Earth down, which might not be a bad thing since everybody's whining and complaining about how hot it is. Maybe we should.
There you go. There's
the solution right there, baby.
Cure for climate change, nuclear war.
So speaking of vaccines, get the bivalent. We've got that at the office if you want to get that, 727.
What's the number there if they want to make an appointment?
727-384-6411, 727-384-6411. And Ken, we've got the bivalent, and we have both the Moderna and the Pfizer. There's really no difference between them, but some people think, ooh, my God, I had Moderna, so I want Moderna. I had Pfizer, so I want Pfizer. Yeah, it's a bunch of baloney. At any rate, get one of the vaccines. And by the way, the Chinese are touting that they had 150 people in a study with an adenovirus-based vaccine. So what they do is they take an adenovirus, which is a cold virus that is weakened, and so it doesn't do any damage to human cells. And then they splice in the genetic material for the spike protein of the COVID. So then these little viruses enter your immune cells and stimulate them to make antibodies to the COVID spike. Well, that's been around for a while, and the Chinese are touting it as if they've come up with something really unique and different, because you can inhale these vaccines, these adenovirus vaccines, so you don't have to give shots. And of course, that's easier to administer, and you don't have to store it in a freezer and all that. You know, we've got that minus 80-degree freezer for the Pfizer. I don't know if we're making any money on that Pfizer vaccine or not. Hell, the electricity for that freezer is probably more than what I get off of the vaccine shots. But, you know, it's a service to the public.
It's a public service.
It's a
right,
public
saving
service.
lives.
Yeah. So at any rate, this adenovirus-based vaccine has actually been around for a while for other things, and I don't know why the Chinese think that they're doing something super duper with it, because they had 150 people in the study. We had 13,000 people in one of our studies a year or two ago, so nanny boo-boo. Yeah. At any rate, and oh, by the way, did you hear that the Communist Chinese, CCP, Communist Chinese Communist Party opened up their annual meeting, convention, whatever you want to call it, and President Xi said he's going to take China to new highs, and he's going to get back Taiwan even if he has to use force, and they're going to modernize their chip making industry. You know, they make lower end chips, but most of their high end chips come from, as we've talked about this before, the United States, South Korea, Europe. And I don't think Taiwan's selling them anything that would help them, although Taiwan makes a lot of cheaper chips. So,
didn't the U.S. just ban any sort of delivery of any equipment whatsoever
yes,
to China?
We have banned
facilitate that.
Well, there's certain chips that we will not allow to go. And you know, surprisingly, Ken, some of these are the high-end video chips. We won't let them have those. They're harder to make, and they have much more power. And then, of course, we have some top secret ones that nobody knows about except for you and me. And we're not going to tell anybody either. So
no, keep it on a QT.
We keep it under wraps. But we make the majority of the high-end chips. We and some of the European countries. I think the Netherlands and Germany. And of course, Elon Musk. Who knows what he's making? You know, he's
like a mad scientist somewhere.
Yes, he's probably. I think he moved to Mars, didn't he, or is he back?
I think he'd like to. Yeah.
Yeah.
He sent a car up there anyway, so when he gets there.
Yes, he'll have something to ride around in. But he was going to halt his Starlink internet service to the Ukraine. He sent some, I don't know, 7,000 or 8,000 nodes or something over there, and then put satellites above them. And he wanted the United States government to take it over because it's costing him billions of dollars. And then he decided, no, he's not going to do that. He'll keep funding it. So I guess somebody got to him. Maybe President Zelensky gave him a call and begged him, oh, please.
I hadn't heard that part of it. I thought he was, last I heard he had cut it off, so I didn't know he.
Yeah, he's decided he's not going to cut it off.
Now he could just do something about my cable.
Yeah. If he could give us, you know, live feed for half the price, I'm in.
Yeah, me too.
Oh my!
Elon will do it. Elon's going to solve all our problems eventually.
Yeah, and so what else is going on over in the Ukraine? France pledges to train 2,000 Ukrainian soldiers and offers air defense systems. I don't know how much they're going to offer. Power's back on at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant. I'm sure that makes you feel good. I know it'll warm some homes in the Ukraine, and Russians are trying to help people get out of the quote Russian portion of the Ukraine that they took over, since the Ukrainians are taking it back.
Are the Ukrainians? You think the Ukrainians are going to just keep on going through Crimea if they have to? If they can.
I hope they do, and then I hope they turn around and march to Moscow. I might volunteer for that fund.
Just keep on going right to the Red Square, huh?
You know, that's what I said when we went to Baghdad. I said, just make a left and march to Damascus, and then march to Beirut and just clean house.
Just clean it out. Just right. Clean the whole corridor. You got all your equipment there. So.
But no, we weenied out again. Why do we weenie out on everything we do?
I don't know why we do.
We did that in Vietnam.
We do it every time.
We did it in Iraq. We did it in Afghanistan. Did we
Vietnam,
do it?
Korea, both.
Korea, we weenied out. I don't know, but we didn't weenie out in Canada.
Maybe. Huh?
You know where we did not weenie out was in
where?
Canada. They just beat us. They beat us in the Revolutionary War, and in the War of 1812 they pushed us back.
That's why we don't mess with the Canadians anymore.
I'm afraid of those people. They're mean.
Well, it's always dark and cold there. They're upset.
No, I know. Meanwhile,
It's actually pretty nice in Canada this time of year.
Oh, yeah. Hey, by the way, we're going up to Knoxville, not this coming Wednesday, but a week from Wednesday, I think the 26th. We're going to go up there. Zeke, my son, moved up there to take a job with Tom Bross. I think it's Tom Bross Advertising Agency. Getting paid more money. Got a big fat moving allowance, big fat for him. $10,000, not bad.
Not bad to move, yeah.
And so
nice town. I've been there. It's a pretty city.
Yeah, it's a nice city, and they've got the Eastern Tennessee, the university is there, which is growing, and you're right in the foothills of the Appalachians. So we're going to go take tours and see the leaves changing, maybe do a horseback ride, and take the boy out for dinner, and just have a good time. But I'm looking
a lot of huge, beautiful lakes around there too.
Oh yeah, that's a gorgeous area, and that's where the Tennessee Valley Authority basically started, was in northeastern Tennessee. Did you know that? The TVA was a government project started in the late 20s, early 30s, and it was a way of impounding water with dams and then put hydroelectric generators beside the dams, and then you'd funnel the water through that, turn the wheels on the generator, and make electricity. Because a lot of the Southeast didn't have electricity, Ken. Did not have electricity. When my mother was born, she didn't have electricity in the 1910-20 era.
Some of those folks up in the hills, no, never.
No, they lived out in rural southeast Ohio. And that little area, Kentucky, West Virginia, southeastern Ohio, Tennessee, the Carolinas, that little coal mining, tobacco growing, truck farming area there, that you could draw a circle around that, and you would have an area that really didn't have any modern amenities until the 1940s.
So it was wasn't that Roosevelt's New Deal that kind of built most of that stuff?
Well, actually, most of what Roosevelt instituted, Herbert Hoover had already drawn up, but Hoover was not a politician. He was probably our only president who had never run for office, who was elected president. He was a career bureaucrat, and he had been over several departments, and I think he was an engineer by training. And he was a really smart guy and a really good guy, but he didn't know how to get people to go along with him, especially after the crash. The Democrats saw that as an opportunity to boot the Republicans out. And so instead of, throwing them some tidbits, he tried to just talk them into, so he'd call in the industry leaders and he'd say, can't you just please keep your production of cars up and so people have a job? And, the heads of GM and Ford are like, what are we going to do with we can't buy materials if we're not making money. How are we going to do this? So he was not street savvy like FDR was.
He also didn't believe in interference from the government.
I
in the
think
banking or anything else. He was very much a let the chips fall where they may as far as business was concerned.
but that wasn't necessarily him, Ken. That was the prevailing economic theory of the time, and so the banks and the central bank, they didn't know what to do. So instead of loosening up money to kind of give the economy an infusion, money's the blood of the economy. That's what flows through the veins of the economy and the arteries of the economy. They tightened up interest rates and they shut down loans, and basically that was worldwide. That wasn't just the United States. So we can't say that any one person was responsible for the Great Depression in the 1920s and 30s. But what we can say is that the economic policies of the time certainly took a minor recession and turned it into a worldwide depression. So, and we've learned a lot since then. And you can say, well, we've got rampant inflation because of all the money that was pumped out by first Trump and even more so by the Democrats in power now. But it has kept people in jobs, and it has kept people from being on the street and starving. So now we need to tighten up and rein back. A lot of the money that's been allocated by both the Trump and the Biden regimes has not even been spent. It's sitting there on the sidelines. But just
Well, let us get it back in action then. Let's put it towards the debt.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And we could put a little bit into trying to screen for these teenagers that are going out and mass murdering people. Did you see this kid in Raleigh? Shot up his neighborhood?
I've not heard about the Raleigh one yet, no.
A 15-year-old. He killed 5 and wounded 2. And it was in his neighborhood. And killed his own brother. Did you know that?
Man.
Got his own.
Did not.
Got his own brother, and he's in critical condition because I think he ran and hid, and the police caught up with him and had a shootout. I don't know the whole details because they haven't released it yet, but he apparently is in the hospital, and if he survives, they plan on prosecuting him as an adult.
Well, good.
So.
And did they catch a serial killer out in California? Did I hear something about that?
They did. They caught that guy. He was roaming around with his gun looking for somebody to kill.
Yeah. He was on the hunt.
He was on the hunt, and I don't know how they got him, but I guess they had preliminarily ID'd him, and they must have been tailing him, and they caught him when he was out with his little pistol, and he was going to do in some more folks.
Yeah.
And then, did you see these videos of these random attacks on people in New York City on the subway, in the Taco Bell? This guy's in a wheelchair in Taco Bell, and some guy comes in from behind and just starts stabbing him. And
what is going on, Doc?
Well, either the guy's crazy or he wanted the other guy's Taco Bell taco. But we're probably going with the first theory.
I think we should go with the first one.
Yeah, I think the first theory, because you know what? A Taco Bell is not worth killing over. It's just not worth it. Meanwhile, back in Iran...
I'm hearing more stabbings lately, too. This is all very weird.
I'm sorry, say that again?
I'm hearing about more stabbings as well.
Yeah, yes, in New York City, stabbings. And there's a video. This woman's walking down the street, and this guy pulls out a pair of scissors and stabs her in the head. On the street in New York City in broad daylight. We got to do something about this, Ken. Why don't we put some of this money that we're allocating for rebuilding the left wing of the Democratic Party into housing some of these crazy people and getting them some treatment? Or is that too...
Probably a good idea at this point.
It's probably too rational.
They seem to be everywhere now.
It's too rational, you know. If it's irrational, the Democrats are going to look at it. Oh, by the way, so I told you my neighbor across the street part-time, he's in Michigan and then down here for about a half to a third of the year, third to half of the year, whatever. And he is the one of the political liaisons for GM. So he's worked with GM. He's worked in their real estate department. He's worked in different departments in GM. And now he's the guy that goes out and meets the state and local officials when GM's going to put a new plant in, or they want to, do something with the local economy. And so we're talking electric cars, and he said, Yeah, we're putting another several billion into an electric battery plant in South Bend, Indiana. He said, I went and opened that up this week, did the front PR work. And we're swapping notes. And he said, how do you like your electric car? I said, I love it. He said, what do you think? I said, there's no way electric cars are gonna take over. He said, I agree with you. They're too expensive, and there's not enough electricity to be generated. And so we were talking about. He said, of course, I'm a company man, and so I got to go along with it. But I don't think it's going to work. I said, you're right, but basically they're really upscale golf carts, and I really love my car, but I wouldn't take it out of town. I mean, if you run out of electricity, you can't even push them, Ken. They lock. The wheels lock.
Do they really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. If you have the regenerative braking, it's a magnetic system that when you put on the brakes, the magnets engage, and there's a flow of electrons because there's some little copper wires in the wheel housings and so on and so forth. So once you stop the damn thing, it won't go. Once you run out of juice.
Well, then, Doc, I suggest you get the world's longest extension cord.
I have one that's extremely long, and I have multiple adapters, so I could actually sneak over and plug into one of the neighbors'
I was gonna say,
dryer outlets.
Go next door, about 2 in the morning.
Yep. While nobody's looking.
Exactly, and by 7 or 8 o'clock, you'll be charged.
But
But you're right; it's not going to work because of that.
It's not going to work, and the left has not thought this out. I mean, they have put the cart before the horse. We're going to have a mess. You're going to have all this demand for electric cars and electric vehicles, which is going to make Elon Musk extremely wealthy. But the real solution is going to be something like hydrogen fuel.
Exactly. It's going to be hydrogen or fuel cells or something like that.
Yeah, it'll have to be something like that. But that technology is going to take a little longer to develop. Where are you going to get the electricity? You can't make it from windmills and solar panels. You can't make enough. You just cannot.
Well, the only way to do it is nuclear.
We could go nuclear, but how are you going to get the left-wing weenies and the press to go along with that? They'll stir up all kinds of hysteria.
Well, they're getting closer now. Was it fission or fusion? Fusion is the one we're looking for.
Fusion's what we're looking for.
Right, and they're getting closer all the time. I mean, the temperatures and the numbers they're talking about are astronomical as far as heat is concerned, things like that. But
how you contain that is going to be the big problem. You're going to have some kind of a containment field. And once you do that, once you develop some kind of an energy field to contain that, then you're going to have energy weapons. So, then we could wipe out Moscow without doing any damage anywhere else. And
you're absolutely right. We've never invented anything yet that we haven't turned into a weapon.
And we have never invented a weapon that we haven't turned into something peacefully useful.
It goes both ways. That's right.
Yeah, it does. Dang. Isn't that amazing? How does that work?
It is how they're married together sometimes.
I know.
But I mean, the space program was driven by weapons development.
And
they were fighting the Soviets.
And look at all of the innovations that have come from the space program. I mean, everything from travel to protective suits to fire hazard gear to, just a whole host of things that have been developed and have come out of the space program. Elon Musk, look at that.
That's right. Yeah.
But I don't know how to convince people that nuclear is okay. Ken, people think that there's going to be these gazillion tons of nuclear waste that you're going to have to store somewhere. Do you know you could hold the amount of uranium in your hand that was in the first nuclear bomb? Did you know that?
Oh, yeah, it was very small.
Yeah, I mean, think of lead. Okay, now how much does a shot put weigh, the Olympic shot put? 25 pounds, 20 pounds?
Probably, but that's about the right size, yeah.
And uranium's heavier than lead. So a 35, 40-pound sphere of uranium-235 would be about the size of a shot put.
Yeah.
I mean,
so yeah, it doesn't take much.
No.
You're not going to be overwhelmed with radionuclear waste.
And the thing is you have to dispose of the containment housing because there's radioactivity that gets into the concrete and this and that, and the graphite rods or whatever kind of rods they use to moderate the reaction. But all that can actually be encased in glass, and you just drill down into bedrock and you drop it in there. And, in 2,000 years, if somebody is technologically advanced enough to go down and dig up the bedrock, well, they're probably technologically advanced enough to figure out that this is radioactive.
That's right. They will have surpassed whatever we were using at that point. So.
Yep. And
hey, Doc, it's about time here for a question.
Time for a question.
Time for a question.
Oh my God. Okay,
we're
go ahead.
Off to a little break, but we have a trivia question first. This is for two Dr. Bill, your Radio MD coffee mugs, and the first person with the correct answer will win those mugs. Today's question, of course, the question always deals with something we talked about in the first half of the show, and today it's the new Omicron variant that they're talking about over there in Asia. It's affected 2 cities. Give me one of those cities' names and you'll win. Dr. Bill, your Radio MD coffee mug headed your way for the correct answer. 877-969-8600, 877-969-8600. That is the number to call. Give me one of the 2 cities over there in China being affected by the Omicron, new version of the Omicron variant. Right? All right, Doc.
And the Malay Peninsula.
And the Malay Peninsula. Okay.
All right. Okay, well, we'll be right back. Dr. Bill and Ken, we're having fun. Come back in a few minutes or don't go anywhere or whatever. I'll be right back.
We'll be here.
We'll be here.
Right. Here's the latest from the Answer News Center.
With SRN News, I'm Michael Harrington in Washington. Iranian media say a towering blaze at a notorious prison housing political prisoners and anti-government activists in Iran's capital has killed 4 inmates. Saturday's fire at Evin Prison in Tehran was extinguished after several hours. No detainees escaped. Online videos show gunshots and explosions going off in the area near the notorious prison. Police in California say they've arrested a man suspected of killing 6 men and wounding a woman in a series of shootings. 43-year-old Wesley Brownlee of Stockton stopped in a car about 2 a.m. on Saturday. The police say he was dressed in black, had a gun, and appeared to be looking for another victim. And for months, Tesla and SpaceX CEO Elon Musk has expressed interest in creating his own version of China's WeChat. He says it could be coming soon. This is SRN News.
AM 860, The Answer. Listen on our website, theanswertampa.com, on 100.3 FM, W229 DJ Dunedin, by downloading the Answer Tampa app or on TuneIn or Odyssey.
Dr. Bill for Bay Area Medical, located at 6399 38th Avenue North in St. Pete, 727-384-6411, 727-384-6411. Full service clinic with x-ray, heart imaging, ultrasound, stress testing, and minor surgery. We provide quality health care in a warm and friendly atmosphere. We are multilingual, well-trained, and certified. Most American insurance and new patients accepted. Bay Area Medical, home of Can Care, 727-384-6411, 727-384-6411.
Dr. Bill here. With social distancing and sheltering in place, telemedicine is here. Bay Area Medical, home of Can Care Clinic offers telemedicine for new and established patients. You can see me without an in-office visit. Schedule an appointment at 727-384-6411, 727-384-6411. When it's time for your appointment, type this web address into your cell phone or computer web browser, doxy.me/Bay Area Med. A cell phone works well and is all you really need. For computers, you need a web camera and speakers. We'll give you this address when you call for your appointment. We accept most insurances and travel insurances. Canadians and visitors, please call your travel insurance company for an authorization number prior to the visit. Co-pays and deductibles apply. Self-pay rates are available. Just ask. We accept credit cards, PayPal, and Stripe. 727-384-6411, 727-384-6411.
Dr. Bill here. My friends at St. Pete MRI and Sleep Diagnostics are your best choice for state-of-the-art MRI, CT, and sleep studies. Quality unsurpassed. 25 years experience makes St. Pete MRI my go-to imaging center. Self-pay rates are competitive and out-of-pocket cost a fraction of a hospital. Conveniently accessible from both sides of the bay at 750 94th Avenue North, St. Pete, near the Gandy. 727-577-2220, 727-577-2220.
The latest from AccuWeather at the top and bottom of the hour. Only on AM 860, The Answer.
Today will be sunny and pleasant with a high 89. Tonight, clear skies and a low 71. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy with a thunderstorm in the afternoon. The high will be 83. Tuesday, a passing morning shower, otherwise clouds followed by brightening skies. The high will be 79. And on Wednesday, some clouds, then sunshine with a high 69. That's your AccuWeather forecast. I'm Garrett Beck for AM 860, The Answer.
Ever since I was a young boy, music filled my soul.
And I'm back. This is Dr. Bill. We had a question out there, I think, Ken. Did you get any response or no?
We did. We got a winner, Doc.
We got a winner. Who we got?
We have a winner from Clearwater. Phil Roth from Clearwater had the correct answer to today's trivia question. The question was, which one of two cities is the new Omicron variant affecting right now? And he knew it was Singapore was one of them, and Hong Kong was the other that we were talking about earlier.
Now, did you say Bill or Phil Roth?
Phil.
Phil.
That's the guy, Phil.
Phil. Hey, Phil, we
Phil
appreciate.
Collins, yes.
We really appreciate you listening, Phil, and I'll get those out to you. I was a little tardy last week, but I finally got everything out. So hopefully everybody got their mugs. Now, if you don't get your mug, if something happens or if it's broken, call Ken and yell at him.
Yeah, they're very busy over there at the doctor's office. I got nothing to do.
Yeah, I mean, keep him in work. So at any rate, we just heard on the news, and I've got this just about 30 minutes ago, Evin prison fire in Tehran, Iran, however you want to pronounce it. Apparently, this is a detention center, prison for political prisoners, and I guess they're locking up all the women that are protesting over there. You heard about the Kurdish Iranian woman that was arrested for not wearing her whatever hijab, right, or whatever you call it, and she died in prison. And now they're rioting all over the country. So we don't know. The officials say that it was unrelated to any of the political prisoners, and it was another wing of the prison that there was a riot in and that started the fire. But I guess there are people from all over Tehran that are surrounding that and watching it go up. Probably better than the 4th of July, but you got to feel bad for the political prisoners inside who are.
Oh, certainly.
That's not a good thing. But Iran's going to tear itself apart eventually.
Well, they should know better than to mess with the women. You don't mess with the women.
No, don't mess with the women. Don't get them upset. Oh my God. Well, so
politicians here know that. So.
Yes, they do. So now I got this editorial by Jonathan Chang, and he says that Xi Jinping's endgame is China prepared for conflict with the U.S. I guess they think we're going to go over there and invade them. Isn't that what the Russians thought too? The Soviets? They thought we were going to try and take them over.
Yeah, I don't know why they thought that, but they use that for their internal motivation.
I guess when Patton was saying, "Let's just keep going to Moscow,"
well, that was one guy. Him and MacArthur.
They kind of, I guess they kind of got everybody worried over there in the communist world.
No, they just like to build their stuff, their military operations, just like we do, and they need an enemy, and we were theirs.
Yeah, and xenophobia is a great way to get people to stick together, but it doesn't seem to be working with the Ukrainian war. They tried to make it sound like the Ukrainians were a bunch of Nazi fascists who were going to take over Russia. I'm thinking, wait a minute, how does that work? How does a country 1/10 the size of Russia take over? But who knows?
You got to have an enemy. You got to have a reason to go.
And who wants all that real estate? I mean, who wants all that frozen tundra? You can have it, dude. We got plenty. We got it.
Yeah, we grow plenty of wheat here. We don't need anybody else's.
And we've got Alaska. If we want frozen tundra, we can take a vacation up to northern Canada.
Exactly.
And so
we got Alaska. I mean, we got all the frozen tundra we need.
we got plenty. We don't need any more. And so, President Xi, we are not interested in taking you over. We just want to make sure you don't take us over. That's
right. We just want you to play by the international rules. That's all.
I don't know if he knows how to spell international, does he? Do they have that word
He
in
does
China?
when somebody's breaking them.
do they do they have that word in Mandarin? I don't know. So he wants to restore China to what he believes is its rightful place as a global player and a peer of the U.S. Dude, you're going to have to really change your ways if you're going to get up to our level. And by the way, we have to change our ways or we're going to sink to their level.
Well, both are starting to drown in debt, I'm afraid.
Well, what are you going to do?
Stop spending money.
What?
Drunken sailors,
Wait a minute.
they say.
You telling me I can't spend? You mean she's
You
taking
can spend
my?
all you want.
She's taking my credit cards away.
I'm talking about tax money, Doc. You can spend all you want.
Oh, I can't. Okay, good. Well, she won't let me. You know, the little Korean. Oh my
That's
God.
a whole different. That's a whole different leader.
That's a whole. Yeah, that's the queen of South Korea is now living in my house.
now living in St. Pete.
She is now living in St. Pete, and she's ruling over poor little Billy Handelman. Oh my.
She's always been very nice to me.
Yeah, because you're not under her thumb yet.
I'm bringing money in whenever I'm there.
Yeah. Well, see, I don't bring in money in her eyes.
You're on the other end.
I'm
right.
spending her money, money that somehow me pulling the cart. You know, I tell patients all the time. They say, "Well, Doc, what about my insurance?" And I say, "Look, I'm just the jackass that pulls her cart. You go talk to her. She's in charge of the money. I'm just the donkey here. I'm the donkey boy."
I'm just curious. She's the one that deals with the insurance.
I just go back there and shovel the doo-doo, and she...
So you're the hero.
Yeah, well, she thinks she's a hero. Let's let her think that.
All right, sure. Whatever makes you happy.
Whatever keeps peace in the house.
That's right.
So I had an interesting patient this week. One of the intensivists, Dr. Lanza, he asked me if I'd see a patient for him. So this woman had a stroke, an older woman, and she has contractures of her right arm, of her left arm and her left hand. Contractures are when you no longer have innervation of those muscles, and so they're not used. And what the muscles will do is they will gradually contract down and become useless and atrophied and fill in with scar tissue. And so nobody can clip her nails, and her nails have dug into her hand, the palm of her hand, and she's got an infection in her hand. So he wanted to see if there was anything I could suggest. I'm not quite sure what I could do, but at any rate, so I went to see her, and I think we're going to have the orthopedic surgeon do a procedure where they actually release the tendons that go to the hands and the fingers so that those fingers can be opened up and we can treat the infection and get her nails cut. However, it did bring up the discussion of strokes, and so I wanted to touch on that for a minute or two, because this is still a big deal, Ken. This is still one of the major problems, medical problems that we see in adults, heart attacks and strokes, even though we hear a lot about COVID deaths and HIV and monkeypox and all that. Those are still pretty minor things compared to this. We did have
my mom died of a stroke, so I'm very familiar with the problem.
Yeah, and there seems to be a genetic component too, buddy boy.
Oh, thank you.
You're Velcro. That way it'll stick. So what are some of the signs and symptoms of a stroke, and what can we do to prevent it? Well, you can have loss of function of one side of your body or of a limb. You can have complete loss of function below your neck. You can have sensory defects like blindness or loss of hearing or taste or smell on one side, visual field defects, double vision, difficulty talking, slurred speech, facial droop, problems walking, being dizzy for no reason, being unable to speak completely, and a change in your level of consciousness. And So how do we work up a stroke? Well, nowadays we use imaging, and we have for ischemic, which means lack of blood to the part of the brain that is having the stroke. We know now that those are caused by either clots that come from the heart or from somewhere else in the upper vascular system, or a local event where there's a clot that forms right there inside the artery because of high blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes, cigarette smoking, tobacco abuse.
You said something about cigarettes?
Something. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard about that. I hear it's not good for all kinds of stuff.
No, it's bad for you, and I hope that you're
know,
cutting down because I'm concerned about you.
I know.
Anyway,
Well, I'm coming in a couple weeks to do some whole blood work and all kinds of stuff.
all right,
So
I'll
we'll see
yell
where
at
I
you
am.
some more then.
So
So at any
let's wait
rate,
to see how the blood work comes about.
yeah, what we do now for these ischemic strokes, if we get you early enough, is we'll do a CAT scan of your brain and make sure you don't have a bleed inside your head. And if you don't, we can give you some clot busting medicine, the medications that will break down the blood clot. And that actually helps a lot of people. As you get older, it's more dangerous, though, Ken, because when you get into your late 70s and 80s, you have more of a propensity to have a bleed inside your head if you have this clot busting medicine shot into you. So it's a little bit of a crap roll, and that's how we diagnose it. And then, of course, later on we can do an MRI, but that takes more time. So when we're in the acute phase, we want to know if you've had a bleed, because a bleeding stroke is treated differently than an ischemic stroke. And then we can also do imaging later on, like MRI, carotid duplex scanning, CAT scans of your brain arteries and your neck arteries, ultrasound of your heart, echocardiogram, look for clots there. And we do some blood work, of course. And so the management is to, of course, support the patient, try to break up the clot if we can, get you into the hospital, control your blood pressure and your cholesterol and your blood sugar. And I cannot stress the importance of the statins, the simvastatin and rosuvastatin. A lot of people think these things are scary and dangerous and that they will take away your memory and interfere with your liver functions and all that. And that's 99.9999% poo-poo, not true. So we got to take care of you and treat all of your other problems. And we want to change your lifestyle too, Ken. Now, you may not believe in lifestyle change, but I do.
You mean exercising and walking around and stuff like that?
Stuff like that, and taking your medications and not arguing with me when I say, you need to be on blood pressure medicine. I don't feel bad, doctor. I don't feel anything.
I don't. I feel fine.
I feel fine. I feel good. Give me another cigarette. Give me another beer. But
you feel fine until you don't.
Until you don't. But come on. How many times have we said this on TV and in shows and everywhere else that you don't feel high blood pressure until it's too late? Then all of a sudden you got a stroke.
Well, we got my blood pressure back to something normal. So
we are working on your blood pressure and your cholesterol. So we want you to take your blood pressure medicine, take your statins, and get that cholesterol down. We know more and more, we know how important it is to get that bad cholesterol down in all kinds of vascular problems, strokes, heart attacks, peripheral vascular disease, and of course exercise. And as we've talked about before, 30 minutes of aerobic activity every day will add 4 to 5 years onto your life, cut down on your risk of getting type 2 diabetes, strokes, and everything else. And
what's 30 minutes a week get me?
30 minutes a day.
Oh, man, a day? I don't have 30 minutes a day, Doc.
If you counted all the time you spent smoking and you cut that out, you'd have 30 minutes.
You're probably right.
You can't argue with that, Ken.
Maybe even more, yeah.
So, and of course, alcohol.
Let me ask you a question, Doc. Now, if you're sitting across the table with somebody having a stroke, and I know I've seen all the commercials and all that, you got to act fast. Stroke is something you got to act fast with if you want to have some good results at the end, apparently. So
right.
How do you know somebody across from you might be having a stroke if they can't tell you they're having a stroke?
Well, if they
I mean, you're sitting there with the wife and all of a sudden...
She quits talking? She can't talk anymore? Okay, first you have to determine if it's a miracle or if it's actually a stroke. Now, I'm going to assume that there's not many miracles that really happen, although the born-again Christians will argue with me on that. But so we'll assume it's a stroke. So if your wife is talking to you and all of a sudden she becomes aphasic, which is the big term for she can't talk, she's probably having a stroke. So you want to get her to the hospital. If she has a facial droop, if she loses the use of one of her limbs or a whole side of her body, or if she has a one-sided visual blindness or spots in front of her eyes acutely that weren't there before. Those can be little clots flicking off and going into the artery that goes to the eye and causing problems there. Or you can have the anterior cerebral artery blocked off, which will interfere with a whole bunch of stuff up there in the front of the head. The middle cerebral artery is more common because it's a bigger artery, so it's a direct shot, and that's usually what causes the paraplegia, the quadriplegia, the side of the body that doesn't work anymore, or the arm and the hand that are not working and contracted. And oh, by the way, I got to tell you, this lady I was talking to you about that had the stroke. I got to tell you, this cracked me up. I love this. She's still smoking, by the way, daily. And so I'm reading the old notes because, if you're a good doctor, you're supposed to read some of the old notes. And there was one ER note, and the note was titled, "Escaped from the Emergency Room." So she bolted from the emergency room in a previous visit, and I guess she wanted to have a cigarette, so.
Well, I know the feeling.
You know the feeling, buddy.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do? I mean, how do you convince people to change their ways? It's not easy, especially when you're dealing with something as addictive as tobacco.
Right, it's chemical addiction. So I'm a sick person. I need some sort of federal funding.
You do, and I think I have some for you. Of course, the office visit will cost you $500 for me to help you get $250 of federal funding.
Yeah. All smokers should now be somehow.
It makes sense to me. I mean,
as long as we try to quit while we're quitting. Yeah.
The other big addiction, and this one, there's really not much you can do about, is food. This has become a real crisis in our country, and it's just amazing to me. I mean, the amount of obesity, it's just out of control, Ken. But how do you manage or get somebody to manage their own food intake or lack of food intake or whatever? I mean, it's not easy.
Fast food? Is it fast food doing that?
I think it's a number of factors. I think affluence in general allows you to eat more and have more. And when my wife was growing up in Korea, if they saw somebody that was fat, they immediately assumed that they were well-to-do, that they had money, because they could eat more. They could get more food. And the Korean greeting, the hello, annyeonghaseyo, actually it initially translated to, "Did you eat yet today?"
Really?
Yeah, and that's how bad it was at different points in Korea. So I think affluence is a big part of this too.
So we're too rich.
Yeah, we have too much free time and too much food and too much.
Well, argue the other way. Say, I think we're too busy. We don't have enough free time. That's why we don't cook those dinners, because that takes time every night.
I don't know.
I used to do that for the family. I know it takes time.
I know it takes time, but my mother, she was a doctor and she was busy, and so a lot of times we just get some canned peas and a hot dog, and I guess it's pretty much the same as French fries, and it was just.
And now you're just running out for fries and burgers. Yeah.
Well, and not only that, I'm not running out for fries and burgers, but I don't know that things have changed all that much in terms of our habits, other than, as you said, fast food is more readily available. It's on every corner. So, and you get an urge, and the brain is set up so that if there's food available, you think, I better eat because I may not have a chance. The food might not be there later. That's just innate in our genetics and our DNA because of the way that we evolved as hunter-gatherers, and so you didn't know if you were going to make a kill or not. And then as we went to more farming, of course, that changed the way we socialize. It changed our politics and our governmental ways. It changed how we banded together and in tribes, and it also changed the way that we ate because we started growing our own food, and then we domesticated animals, and it went on and on from there. So now it's fairly easy to go out and kill a cow and eat a steak and get you some fries and mash up some potatoes.
And you're on your way again to wherever it was you were going. Yeah. So
Yep. Anyway. All right. So
I know in my house we don't make the mashed potatoes anymore. We buy a box full of mashed potatoes and heat them up.
There you go.
So I'm not sure if that's lazy or just. I'm not sure why we do it, but that is just because of convenience.
It's modern convenience. I mean, think of people 5,000 years ago when they started farming, and they said, "Dang, hey, you can go down to Joe's place and he'll grind you up some of those little seeds, and you can cook it into the stuff they call bread." And I mean, sure, why not? It's easier than going out and picking fruit and looking for, digging up roots and stuff in the forest. So I don't think anything has changed with human nature. It's just the technology has gotten better and faster and more prevalent.
Because overall, I prefer the freshly barbecued burger over any fast food restaurant.
Yep.
It just tastes better.
I don't eat meat, so I wouldn't know anymore.
Kimchi. Lots of kimchi.
Kimchi, rice, I love that. And you know what I'm going to have this morning when I get done is the wife makes me an egg omelet with kimchi in it. That is
no kidding.
That is tasty. I love that. And she was amazed that when I started eating kimchi, I would make sandwiches with kimchi on it. She's like, "What are you doing? We don't eat that way in South Korea." I said, "Baby, you ain't in South Korea anymore."
Well, they don't put artichokes on pizza in Italy either, so
I know. And do they put pineapple on it? I mean, my God.
I don't think so either. I think that gets you shot in Italy.
Probably so. Well, this just came across my desk. Thousands of soldiers and veterans are slapped with misleading criminal records. Apparently, back in the Iraq War era, the Army and the Navy or whoever, they were recruiting people to recruit other people to come in and join the military, and it was fairly successful. I guess they got 150,000 new recruits for the Iraq War back in the 2000s, and so it's like something like 2,500 soldiers were recruited to do this, and they were paid a fee for anybody that they got to boot camp. So they got a couple of grand for doing it, and there was a little bonus. And apparently there was one company that was funding this and ramping this up with money from the U.S. government. And so the government now is looking back and saying, wait a minute, this was an unfair practice because the company that you hired, there were no competitive bids, and according to the federal laws, you have to have competitive bids when you put out a government contract for something like this. So now they're saying that all these guys were acting criminally, and these guys are having this pop up on their records. They're losing their jobs, their pensions, and everything. And I don't know how this came about, but this is a bad situation for the soldiers that were involved in this, and they didn't do anything wrong. They were just doing what the
computer snafu or something?
No, it was that the company that was setting it up, that there were not competitive bids for the.
Oh, okay, all right.
So now they're saying that this was criminal. So they got the Criminal Investigation Division, and they've got some federal branch that looks at how things are contracted and whether it's fair or not, and it's really going to be a mess for these guys. They can't get bank loans. They can't get weapons permits. They haven't done anything wrong, Ken. They're just guys that got paid a little extra to do some recruiting.
30 seconds.
All right, buddy. Well, that's it for me. Let's give a little pitch there for the old medical practice. I'm Dr. Bill. I'm at 727-384-6411, 727-384-6411. And by the way, we are at 6399 38th Avenue North in St. Pete, and you can also have a telemedicine visit with us. So come on in, Ken.
Well, I'll be there in a couple of weeks, Doc.
All right, I'm looking forward to it. I love you guys. Thanks for being with us this morning.
Say bye-bye, Doc.
Bye-bye, Doc.
Thank you for listening to Dr. Bill, your radio MD. Join Dr. Bill every Sunday morning at 9 for more insight, information, provocation, and fun. Dr. Bill Handelman practices in St. Petersburg, Florida at Bay Area Medical Can Care Clinic, 6399 38th Avenue North. For your convenience, telemedicine appointments are available. Call his office today at 727-384-6411. That's 727-384-6411. Or visit his website at cancareclinic.com.